and welcome to an AI-generated script for the Dungus Mungus Gay Man channel.
If you have been unfortunate enough to peruse several of my low-quality videos that often feature microphone issues, you think I'd just buy a decent one so this sort of thing doesn't happen, you would have seen the consoles video that I, Don Beast Monkey Roll, had uploaded. Along with some of the consoles were included some broken controllers with various faults that included an unresponsive D-pad, rattling, and just not working at all, and rattling.
Here is a video where I, a failed mechanic and comedian, attempt to fix these bloody things with varying levels of success.
Okay, so yeah, I'm actually recording this bit afterwards because all of my audio failed. For some reason, this microphone doesn't blooming work properly. So, to start off all of them, all you've got to do is pull some little screws at the back. I use like a precision screwdriver. On the older pads, it was really tricky to get the screws out, so you might be better off getting a really thin screwdriver that you can get in there. But you can see in this one, this is the one that didn't work at all. Nothing was happening inside it. Well, it'd turn on, but like loads of the buttons didn't work, and I could hear something flicking about inside of it, and it'd go on and off as you were using it. So just tipping it upside down, I see something fall out of the case. There's a little bit of it as well. That's a little bit extra. You can see me just tapping a little bit more out. And that actually ended up it's like a little cross that holds the D-pad in place. I'll just show you roughly what it is. So that's what's left of it. It should have 4 prongs. It's only got 3 prongs, so it was just sort of rattling around inside. That's probably why nothing was working on the control side. But rather more alarmingly, you can see there I'm flipping a piece of like plastic together. That's meant to be attached to the front of the pad, and that was just flapping around loose inside. So because it wasn't secured properly, I think because nothing was inside the pad was secured properly, that's why the pad was turning on and off and not really working properly. Add to that, there's some extra bits where you saw me just waggling one of the corner buttons there, what you call them, the left and right triggers. So the one on the left hand side was still fully attached, it was still great. The one on the right hand side was snapped and loose. I'm hoping I'll bring it into view in a minute and you'll just see it sort of dangling. There we go, just dangling off the edge. So that one, it was still connected, it was working, but because it was loose inside the pad, pressing it just wasn't doing anything. It wasn't connecting with the button behind it. So I figured I should be able to fix it, but because it was such a nightmare to try and put back together, like you'll see, as soon as I unclipped all of this, as soon as I took the screws out, it just started pinging out all over the place. So I knew it was going to be a nightmare to put back together. So I gave up on that and moved to the other PS2 pad. This one, it was just had a few rattles inside of it, and the D-pad wasn't working properly. So again, we'll fast forward through the unscrewing bit. I will say that first control pad, stay around and watch to the end of the video because I do manage to fix it eventually. But I didn't do it on camera because it took lots of sellotape and little random bits that I'd made myself to try and hold it all together. So inside the second pad, you'll see, look how simple it is. Look how simple that is in comparison to the other PS2 pad we've just had. I'm not really sure what the difference is. You can see this one's older. I'm guessing it's like a first generation pad for the PS2, and the other one was probably just a cheaper one that they released as the PS2 was on its last legs, really. So with this one, again, yeah, there was just that's just showing you the comparison between that first pad. Look at all the gubbins inside of it, and that, again, that little cable where it's just come off loose. You'll see on the PS2 pad I'm working on at the moment, it's actually just attached to it. It can't come loose. There's no way for it to come loose. They're a lot better design. Don't know why they've changed that design, to be honest. So anyway, on this, I've got to take the pad out. It's got an extra screw as well, holding everything in place, which makes it a lot easier to put back together in comparison to that first pad. But inside of here, I find out that, again, the bit on the down button on the D-pad, for some reason, wasn't working, and I think it was just this little bit here, the little tab behind it, it's got like magnets on it, that had just sort of come loose. So all I had to do was reposition that and everything seemed to work okay. But again, there was some rattling around inside of here. You'll see in a minute, I pull out 2 black chunks from the inside. Oh, again, that's just a comparison to show you that even that bit was completely different. Yeah, just checking that, giving it a bit of a shake. If in doubt, give it a shake, eh? But I was giving it a shake to see if there was anything rattling inside there. There wasn't. It was just the lumps that came out the actual control pad. So putting it all back together now, just speeding it up a bit. And again, you'll see me just putting bits together, shaking random bits to see if I can hear something shaking around. It's obvious that the issue isn't fixed. So there, it's like, ooh, still a shaky noise going on. What's happening here? And I sort of found it was in that bottom corner. So when I was holding bits together, I was like trying to isolate where the noise was coming from, and then that dropped out of it. So it was just like a little smorgasbord of black chunks of plastic. So again, rebuilding everything, because I was pretty confident that I'd fixed everything. But then I find another black chunk of plastic. I think that's what was stopping the down button from working. So glad that I managed it. Again, if in doubt, always strip it down and always test. Rather than putting it all back together and then having to strip it down again, strip it down to its absolute basic parts. Again, give it a bit of a shake if you've got a rattle in there, and if you can't hear anything and it works, then you can rebuild it. So again, here all I did was attach that board to the front so I can test all the buttons, make sure I've got some sort of reaction behind them all, and they felt brand new, to be fair, which was nice. And then it's just a case of popping the back on, which is a lot simpler than that first pad. Again, I didn't show you the video of that, but it was an absolute nightmare trying to put everything back together. This one, everything stays in place. You just sort of clip it all together and then just dunk your screws in. So I'm not really sure, again, why they changed that standard, really. Why they went from something so simple and so robust to something that's so flimsy and weak and poorly built. My first ever video for this channel was a PS2 purge, getting rid of some of my old games, and I literally tried to destroy a PS2 pad with a hammer, and it was that well built. It was just bouncing off the table. I probably wouldn't fancy the PS2 pad's chances if it was the first pad that I was working on here. Anyway, so there we go. Give it a quick shake. No rattles whatsoever. Decent PS2 pad, and again, all the buttons work. Really, really happy with that. So that only leaves one more pad. Oh, and also, people, please stop winding your cables around the pad, because it creates like a weak point in the wire right next to where it joins the pad. This is how I do it. So I just sort of like bunch them up, but again, not too tight. Never do anything too tight. Hold it all like that, and then just get a little cable tie or I don't know what you call them. You get them on your bread and all things like that. Just like a little piece of metal to wind round, holds all your cables in place. You can undo it and redo it as many times as you want. So yeah, just a little twist tie like that. Twist tie, I think that's the word I was looking for. And it keeps all your cables tidy, but doesn't blooming damage them. Yeah, so that's how I do it anyway. Right, so on to the PS1 pad, which again sounded quite rough, had a bit of a rattle inside of it, not as bad as the PS2 pad that I was just working on. This one, nice and simple, more screw points on it, so lots and lots of screwing to be done. Yeah. But you can see, and so I'm just checking there as well, giving it a little bit of a flick, flicking it upside down. Number one, listening for any shaking. Number two, seeing if anything falls out of it. Same with this bit, same with the front bit. You can see how simplistic it is inside. So again, just stripping everything down, because I still hadn't found what was going on. And then there it was, again, right on the inside, right on that little D-pad bit. Luckily, this time, the thing that was holding it in place was still in one piece. It was just a little piece of grey plastic rattling around inside there, which was... the D-pad was working, but it was just sort of flicking around inside that section of it. So just rebuilding everything again. If you struggle to remember how to rebuild something, my memory's awful. What I like to do is I either write down everything on a piece of paper so I know exactly what goes where, or you can put stuff in little tubs, or this is the handiest one, just record yourself stripping it down, and then you've got an instant access. You can just watch your video back and see what goes where. I say luckily this one, the PS1 pad, was incredibly simple to rebuild. Just giving it a quick test before I put those last few screws in, and yeah, everything was fine. And then you just end it up with a quick shake, make sure that there's still nothing inside, and finally, all those pads sorted.
Oh my god, wow, that was an experience. I haven't stripped a control pad down since I was about 13, and I tried to do one for the Sega Mega Drive, which, like that first control pad, just exploded, bits went everywhere. I couldn't put it back together again, it was broken anyway, but I couldn't get it working. I thought that's what was going to happen with all the control pads today. But what a bit of learning. I found out that there's 2 different types of control pad. So I'm guessing you've got your PS1 pad, which again, perfect now. That's absolutely spot on, no rattling inside it. Should work, I will test it afterwards. That one, really simple, even I, as soon as I opened it up, I was like, oh my god, I can see exactly how this works. So that was wonderful, really nice to work on. I'm guessing the PS1 Rumble controller, the one that they brought out with the Sony PS1, not your Sony PlayStation 1, you know, the little slimline one, it had the Rumble pad with it. I'm guessing that is exactly the same as this PS2 pad, which, again, no rattles, nothing now, absolutely perfect. Again, I will test it to make sure it works, but I'm guessing it will work. God knows what was wrong with it to begin with, but yeah, fixed the rattle inside it, did put a few bits back in place, found a few bits of broken plastic rattling around inside it, so God knows what they're off, but yeah, at least that's sorted now. But I'm guessing the PS1 Rumble is exactly the same as this one, which I'm guessing is the first variation of PS2 pads that came out. Again, not so hard to fix. That one was all right. Yeah, that was the second one I worked on, the one that didn't explode. The one that did explode, I'm guessing that's the first edition of PS2 pads. I mean, it's a sorry mess now. This is, you know, it's falling apart. This is what's left of it. Really awkward to work on, really awkward, hard even just to put back together. I will attempt to put it back together again. I can't fix it because bits of it are just completely and utterly smashed. Really surprised me actually how weak and flimsy it is. Bear in mind, this is meant to be, I'm guessing, the advanced version of the PS2. Whether they just made it cheaper, you know, cheaper parts, I don't know. Whether this was, I don't know how long that first edition, I don't know how long that lasted with the PS2. Whether this was, once the PS2 became less profitable, they just churned out absolute pap. I don't know if this is a fake pad, I'm not sure. But it's the D-pad there, the D-pad bit. So again, I don't know how to show it. That little bit there where it's got like 3 prongs on it, it's missing a 4th prong. That should hold the D-pad in. That was the thing that was rattling around inside of it. But it wasn't just that. On top of that, God. So if we look at this main console bit, really weirded out by this. So those 2 original pads had separate bits for the shoulder buttons. This one, it's like part of it. So, God, that's so flimsy. That is so flimsy. But yeah, it's part of it. That one is joined. This one, as you can see, has snapped off. And even that one, it's so thin. You can see that's about to snap. So really flimsy. Really not chuffed with the quality of this second edition. I'm guessing it's second edition PS2 pad. So yeah, I probably can get it fixed. I probably could glue bits together. I'm not going to. It's an old control pad. I'd rather buy like a dodgy fake one, to be honest with you. Because the other thing that I really didn't like is this ribbon, this connecting ribbon here that goes to the back of the PS2 pad. On the first PS2 pad. Again, I suppose it gives you more ability to swap bits out and everything. But on the first PS2 pad, it was part of it. You couldn't take it off. Again, you probably could with a bit of know-how, but it was pretty much sealed. There's not really much you could do about it. This one, it's just flimsy and loose. There's nothing holding it in place. If I look on the back of here, more bits are going to fall out, so let's just throw them out. If I look on the back of here, so just inside here, you can see a block. So that's the thing that holds it in. So trying to put all this back together and not have bits falling out and being able to keep that ribbon in place so it hits the back of there, God, it's a hell of a job. So yeah, really glad I don't have to fix that one. Really glad I've actually got PS2 pads. I'm probably not going to sell these now, actually. I probably am going to keep them because it's nice to have some spares, and I really don't want to go through all this again, but it was a good learning experience. Did I do anything wrong? Because I'm guessing there's going to be some people out there that are handier than I am. Let me know if I've done anything wrong. Again, I will test those pads to make sure they work. Hopefully they do work. This one, if you think I can fix it, which, yeah, there's just bits everywhere. If you think I can fix it, let me know. I might try and make a second video. I might try and bodge some bits together just to try and get it working. But did I do anything wrong? That's the main bit. Was there anything I did that could have been made easier? Like when it exploded everywhere, was that my fault or is that just the pad? Anyway, I hope you've learned something. I hope you can take something away from all this. Number one, buy PS1 pads and buy the first edition PS2 pads, if that's what it is. But yeah, hope you've taken something away from it. I definitely have. So I've been Donald Mackerel. This has been Donald Mackerel Gaming. See you all again soon. Well, hopefully not stripping down control pads. I don't know, I've managed to do it. Got that PS2 pad back together and no rattling whatsoever. And it works. So yeah, perhaps it wasn't so bad after all. Just took a lot of fumbling about. So yeah, 3 control pads all working. And hopefully that one is going to see extra. I don't trust it at all. See you all again soon.